Hi, Dr. Nolan. It's Preethi Mangadu, and this is my project, my mass communications capstone, the Asian experience at Texas State University. So first, we gotta get into why. Why am I doing this, the project purpose and focus? So first, I want to discuss how the Asian population at Texas State, we are in the minority and the minorities. I'm Indian American, but also Asian, since India's in Asia. And this point of this project is to discuss the topics about Asians and Asian American students have in American campuses. So I really wanted to showcase their experience on campus, including things like their cultural identity, things they experience in the classroom, things they experience outside the classroom, things they experience with events and groups and stuff like that. And this project I want to showcase the experience through their voices and visually and written in digital media. So that is why I decided to make a multimedia website with features from the individuals who participated in this project, including sound bites of them talking about it, to research from all different types of research, which we will get to in the next section. And then visuals, so pictures from the Asian Cultural Showcase that is showcasing groups around campus. So why is this important to me? So as I said before, I'm Asian American, I'm Indian, and I have had a very complicated relationship with my own cultural identity. I grew up almost hating that I was Indian because of the peers that I was around. I got bullied really heavily for it. I mean, it got to the point where I was called a terrorist multiple times. I mean, a lot of times. But, as I grew up and my journey continued, I started to get more comfortable with my cultural identity and being Indian. And now, as of now, like I try to embrace it more and through cultural things. And of course, being in college is a time that should foster your identities and help you gain a larger perspective on things like identity and cultures and different people and different perspectives. So this project is important to me because it relates so deeply to me. Of course, that comes with the challenge of being unbiased as we are in the School of Journalism at SCOM. And so one of my biggest challenges for this project was being unbiased with my project. And the way that I got there was through my research. So the main three topics that I researched were about one, cultural identity. So first of all, what is it? So it's the identity you get from being in a certain type of group. And this can extend to like different groups like dealing with sex, gender, sexual orientation, stuff like that. But for this project specifically, we are focusing on ethnicity and race, specifically being Asian and or Asian American. And when we're talking about cultural identity, it's important to talk about bicultural identity, which is when you have two cultures like battling inside of you, basically, or it's mostly in Asian Americans who have their parents' heritage and a different societal culture that are both inside of them, adapting and changing. And that also goes into transcultural identity, which is when, there's an international student who has lived in a different country with their culture for a long time, and they travel to a different place and start having to adapt to new cultural dynamics like campus culture and the dominant culture in the place. And the main difference between bicultural and transcultural is that bicultural is more in the early developments. The person is in two different cultures, but transcultural it can be two or more cultures, but this happens later in life. And it's more about understanding and adapting and getting an understanding that almost quote unquote transcends um normal identities and not normal transcends identity, cultural identity, and helps you understand different populations. Next topic that I focused on is entitled Asians in College. This section basically was talking about the Asian population in college and talking about it compared to Texas State and Texas. So in Texas, there is about 6%, and the exact details are laid out on my website. About 6% in Texas, and compared to Texas State, that's 2.73%. So obviously that's not reflective, but of course that also goes into a lot of things like the majors we offer here, the programs, how well known Texas State is compared to other UT schools and stuff like that. But in this section, we also talk about the pressures and stereotypes that happen in college. Specifically, like specific stereotypes that Asians face are the perpetual foreigner. So basically, always being an other rather than a main, not a, always being an other rather than considered part of society as an American. Or the model minority myth, which puts Asians in opposition to other minorities like Black Americans and Hispanic and Latinx, and basically making them an honorary white, which also goes into acculturation and assimilation and almost diminishing one's culture and putting pressures to be that stereotypes with the fear of not being accepted or ridiculed for those things. And then lastly, in this section, I wanted to talk about curriculum. So specifically with critical race theory and black and white binary. As we know, critical race theory was a big topic. And so I want to focus on how that talks about in college, and also the black and white binary I felt was so important for this case, because when talking about the black and white binary, this is when often like curriculum and lessons are focused more on the history between African Americans and white Americans. And while that is a very important history to cover, it often leaves little to no room for other cultures and other histories. And there have been things that happened to other cultures. And so I wanted to talk about that binary that's often seen in American public education. And then the last topic is cultural groups. So when we were talking about culture groups, I needed to discuss first campus culture. This is the dominant society culture, things that happen at Texas State. So, Texas State partying school, the river, different events, HSI, everything that makes Texas State is its culture. And then we have subcultures, subgroups in this, which can come in the form of cultural groups like the Vietnamese Student Association, the Filipino Student Association, Indian Student Association, so on. And so I wanted to talk about the benefits of cultural groups of finding the community. They can help with mental health issues, with cultural students, Asian Americans, and Asian students feeling like othered and feeling they have no outlet to express themselves. They can help with that. They can just overall be a community to help with stress, help with college, and be with people that understand your background. And so those are three key research topics that I chose to focus on. And then next we're going to go into the plan I have after I did the research. So the main focus was using interviews / profiles or features, whatever you want to call them, to showcase the experience through Asian and Asian American student voices on campus with digital media, writing, and with audio. And so I did this through 6 features, and I used SoundCloud to upload the audios to, and I recorded the audios during the interviews with them. And these articles are basically showcasing their answers to a set of questions on the past research and certain things that they felt were memorable on campus, things that they felt were important to include in this research. And I also visually showed some of the community through the Asian Cultural Showcase, and I have a photo gallery on the website, which I think is just darling. They had this, but sidebar, they had this dragon dance there, which I thought was, they had dragon dance, they had other cultural showcases, they had food. It was overall a really fun time. But back to this, we had 6 profiles for this. There was a 7th, but they asked last minute to not be part of this project, and that's completely understandable. And so the six profiles, which we had Johnny Zhao with, he is a Vietnamese student here. He's a senior and he's a campus leader. He is not in VSA or anything like that, but he is a campus leader. He's been in Bobcat Connection. He's been at the Writing Center for 3 years. He's at Look Magazine as a model and a writer, and he's the president of one of the English societies. Like, he's done a lot. So we have from Johnny Dow, then we have Kylie Hill, who's a freshman here, but she is the director of the AAPI photo shoot that Look Magazine is doing. And as a freshman, I wanted to see like why she put herself out there and why she decided to do this. And then we have Prasamsa, which she goes by the nickname Prasi. So Prasi is a member of ASR, Alpha Sigma Rho, a Asian interest sorority, one of the first ones at Texas State. And I believe there's another one as well, but this ASR opened its doors before that, I believe. And then we have Austin Ta, who is from VSA as well, Vietnamese Student Association. And he's a cultural leader there. So he has a lot of insights on VSA and stuff like that. Then we have Swati Balabanani. I think I said that right. But Swati is an international student who's in the Indian Student Association. So from her, we really talked about what it's like to be an international student and what it's like to be in the Indian Student Association and how that benefits her. And then we have Fat Tran, who is also in VSA, and he's a senior there, and he's actually transferred here in the middle of college. So we kind of talked about that and what really helped him get through college, which was joining VSA. And yeah, so some key takeaways that I got from doing this research. These are the 3 topics that were really focused on and really talked about throughout these interviews. So first we had student advocacy. So basically, this was mostly seen through Johnny's and Kylie's. They talked about how the Asian students here often had to advocate for themselves rather than having, support from other people. And they obviously advocate for themselves to be representative, to be leaders, to be seen in class, and all of that. And one way that they do that is through cultural groups. And speaking of cultural groups, a big topic of discussion was how many of the people felt supported by their cultural group and their organization, but not by the university as a whole. So that was definitely a key takeaway that I got in a lot of the interviews, that people were saying, oh yeah, I see these events, they're planned by these cultural organizations, but from the university, I am not seeing that support, which obviously is a lot harder now with SB 17, limiting resources. And obviously they don't limit events, as they say, but sometimes resources and staff are limited to help, run these types of events. And then next we have the Black and white binary curriculum. Everyone had something to say about it because they felt like Texas State has a diverse catalog of courses. Like, you can find specific courses. Like, Johnny was telling me how he was taking an Asian literature class, but when it came to the core classes, oftentimes they felt that the Black and white binary existed. And it felt like they had to search for their culture in these classes rather than it being something that's just implemented, if that makes sense. So, lessons I personally learned from this. So first of all, I took like 2 type of things. So one was based on the research process of this. So one was about being unbiased. Obviously, this is a topic that I'm going to be pretty biased in, but the point of being in our field is to be unbiased, to be able to work with these people without your personal opinions and your experiences affecting it. So even though I chose this topic because I relate to it strictly, I went off the research and off the questions and the interviews that I had. And this project really taught me even more about being unbiased in journalism. I'm a very opinionated person. I know you don't know me that well, but I am a very opinionated person. So this kind of helped me hone in my skills of unbiased even more so than I do now. And then another lesson is more on the project. This is about personal cultural identity. So I've always viewed cultural identity as like one thing. Like it's your culture, it's your heritage, it's this stagnant thing. Like, for example, I'm Indian American. My cultural identity is that I'm Indian. But no, but no, through this project, I really saw how it was ever changing and how it just moves and it ebbs and it flows. And it's going to be different at different points in your life. So, like, yeah, on top of it, I'm Indian. But that means so many different things to different people. Like for me, being Indian, being an Indian American, I find connection through certain cultural things like events, media, food and other other things. But it's very different for other people. And then it really got from this that college people are craving for college to be a place that fosters this rather than something that's just on the sideline. And obviously, college is a place for education and opening perspectives. That's what I believe. It's education and opening perspectives and having these more cultural identities and having these people be showcased, not showcased in class, but felt supported in class, felt seen in class and in programs and events really helps them feel like they belong and it enhances their college experience. It helps with their mental health to not feel like an other. And overall, it's just beneficial to do that. And obviously, I know there's limitations now with SB 17, with resources and all of that. But I think the main point of this project is to have something to think about, something to ponder of what can we be doing more within our limitations. What exactly can we do to help people feel welcome, help people feel like they belong? And that's the main point of this project, to showcase the experience of Asian and Asian Americans on campus and showcase what the participants that I had want to feel like they belong. And yeah, that is basically my project. So thank you so much for but thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to produce this project. I wrote this in my reflection paper, but again, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to do this presentation and this project. I have really enjoyed creating this. It has helped my personal cultural identity growth and it was just overall fun to research, especially going to the Asian Cultural Showcase. The pictures throughout this were from the Asian Cultural Showcase. It was just an overall fun time. I had fun making the website and taking pictures. I love writing too, so everything was just a blast, if I'd say. But again, thank you for the opportunity, and I hope that you enjoy my project. Now let me stop recording. Bye.